The industrious and prolific John Rode set the scene in a long introductory section. Rode was the main pen name of Cecil John Street, 1884 to 1965, a former army officer who had won the Military Cross. His most famous detective was Dr. Lancelot Priestley, a rather severe intellectual who featured in a long line of novels but is absent here. Rode was an efficient plot builder and created the perfect victim, a tyrannical media mogul whom every other character in the story seemed to have a possible motive to kill. In keeping with the fashion of the time, a plan of the scene of the crime was included. The story was introduced by an exchange of letters between Rode and Millward Kennedy. Kennedy, 1894 to 1968, also concealed his identity under several pseudonyms. His real name was Millward Roden Kennedy Burge. He worked in military intelligence during the First World War and was awarded the Croix de Guerre prior to taking up a career in diplomacy. Like Anthony Berkeley, he wanted to push out the boundaries of the detective story, and several of his books experiment with the form. None of his characters, however, appeared in more than 2 books, and the absence of a series detective may help to explain why his fame did not last. To Kennedy fell the unenviable task of tying up the loose ends of the story, and one of the in-jokes of this book is that he gave the job of making sense of the case that had taxed Lord Peter Wimsey and others to a character who was, like himself, a civil servant. Another is his tongue-in-cheek admission to breaking the rules to which my fellow members of the Detection Club always, and I, on all occasions but this, make it a point of honour to adhere. Once Rode had set the scene, the baton passed to Helen Simpson. Born in Sydney in 1897, she was both gifted and charismatic. Sayers, a close friend, said after Simpson's untimely death from cancer in 1940, "I have never met anybody who equalled her in vivid personality and in the intense interest she brought into her contacts with people and things." Simpson tried her hand at poetry and plays before collaborating with Clemence Dane on Enter Sir John, which introduced Sir John Saumarez, the actor-manager of the Sheridan Theatre. Sir John sets about clearing the name of a young actress who has been charged with murder and makes such a success of the task that by the time Ask a Policeman appeared, the two of them are husband and wife. Enter Sir John was turned into a film by Alfred Hitchcock called Murder. Simpson co-wrote 2 more books with Dane, as well as producing several solo novels, including Under Capricorn, which later became another Hitchcock movie. Turning to politics, Simpson was adopted as Liberal parliamentary candidate for the Isle of Wight, before the cruel intervention of the disease that killed her. The energy, wit and skill with which in this book she tackles her portrayal of Gladys Mitchell's detective, Mrs. Bradley, seem typical of how she approached everything in her life. Gladys Mitchell had been elected to membership of the club shortly before this book was written. She too admired Simpson, describing her in an interview with B.A. Pike as brilliant, witty, charming, and highly intellectual. She even allowed Simpson to bestow a second forename, Adela, upon her detective. Mitchell, 1901 to 1983, combined writing with a career as a schoolteacher. She introduced Mrs. Bradley in a convention-defying mystery called Speedy Death, and continued to write about her for more than half a century. Her books often contain bizarre elements, but she attracted a devoted band of readers, including Philip Larkin, who called her the Great Gladys. Mrs. Bradley, a psychiatrist and consultant psychologist to the Home Office, has the looks of a sinister pterodactyl. But when the Mrs. Bradley Mysteries aired on BBC television in 1998-9, she was played by Diana Rigg, a casting decision so eccentric as to be worthy of Mitchell herself. Anthony Berkeley was one of crime fiction's leading innovators. His real name was Anthony Berkeley Cox, 1893 to 1971, and he wrote a good many humorous articles for magazines before introducing Roger Sheringham in the Leighton Court mystery, which was at first published anonymously.